Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you in the chat there. Happy Monday, everyone. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Hope your Monday is going well as well. As I mentioned last week, this is going to be a regular thing where we now have Monday live stream. It gives me something to chat about, keeps the videos live, and it also kind of gives us a chance to have a bit of a catch up, have a bit of a chat with the community, see what everybody's working on, and just really have a bit of a natter really. So excuse me while I drink my milk there. So let's have a look and see who we've got in this evening. So we've got Chaos Sponge in. Nice to see you, Chaos Sponge. We've got Mark Burkoff in. We've got Jamie White's just popped in there as well. We've got Rob Seymour. We've got Scout in the Web. Nice to see you, Lee, mate. And we've got Wee Green Stunties. And Tim Kelly's just popped in as well. So we've got quite a few in there already at the minute. So what we'll do is we'll have a bit of a chat and we'll see how it goes. So as I said, I hope everybody had a great weekend. Let me know in the chat what you've been up to hobby wise. Have you been doing much painting? Have you been playing? What games you've been painting up? What games you've been playing? And I'll very briefly kind of tell you about my weekend. So I was invited down to Mantic Games at the weekend to be part of the play testing for the new Hellboy game, which is coming to Kickstarter next month in April. And unfortunately, I've signed non-disclosure agreements, so I can't really tell you too much about what I saw or what I played. But what I will say is I had a really good time. It's the first time I've ever done any play testing, and it was really interesting to see how the day pans out, how feedback works, how things get tweaked during the day, and how it affects gaming. Sort of even on very sort of minute levels, by a little kind of tweak to a point cost, a little tweak to a stat line, and just how interesting and how quickly that can change a game. So I found that really useful. I managed to get some interviews with James Hewitt, who is the games designer for this game. So I've got a video that's going on Wednesday, which is a bit of a chat with James, a little bit of a chat about kind of his background, things he's been working on in the past when he was at Mantic, when he was at Games Workshop, and also a little bit about his new company that he's basically set up called Needy Cat Games, and they're basically a company that are working freelance and designing games for other big companies. And then I also had an interview with him about Hellboy, and that video is all edited, ready to go. I'm just waiting on the green light from Mantic to see I can release that. So that's obviously quite exciting for me. I'm really looking forward to getting that up and seeing how what people think of it really. I've never really done much in the way of interviews on my channel before, so it's something new for me, something new for the channel, and it'll be really interesting to see what you all think of it. So we'll catch up a little bit on the chat now. So we've got Nick Zaremba, good evening, says greetings. Steve Smallworld, nice to see you, Steve. Lee saying he was painting his Stormcast as he listened, so probably be mute on the chat and listen in. No worries, mate. Hope it's going well. Got Wee Green Stunty saying they've been playing Bolt Action, practicing for upcoming tournaments. Bolt Action's a game I've never actually never played. I did buy a box set of it, started painting some up, got caught off by the shiny things, and I think by the time I actually got back around to it, the rules had changed again, so I didn't get back to try it again. But it looks a great game. We've got Jamie saying practicing AOS for Warhammer World Doubles next week. Didn't realise you were playing, mate. Who's your doubles partner? What you playing? What's your partner playing? And you've been painting the new Azurite runes. Yeah, they look quite nice, those actually. I think I might pick some of those up myself because the price is really affordable considering the price of some of the Games Workshop scenery. Nick is saying he played some Shadespire on Wednesday night at his game store. The GW Gamer new product reveal, new product reveals were sick. Yeah, it was really interesting to see what they mentioned. So for those not familiar, GAMA is like a trade show where all the big companies kind of go and show what games they're releasing this year. And Games Workshop showed the new Blood Bowl team. They showed the next two releases for Shadespire. They showed another Necromunda gang, and they also showed Kill Team as well. So yeah, they had quite a lot to show. Rob's saying he's got some tanks for his Death Watch 40k army, so he's been building them and started painting walkers for Walking Dead. Put that on the Facebook group when they're done. Be good to see them, Rob. Really looking forward to it. Steve's finishing painting his Escher gang over the weekend. Bit more Necromunda love there. And Mark says he has some family commitments mainly, but a few games of Sheriff of Nottingham. I've not played that either, Mark, but good to see you spend a bit of time with the family. And Sheriff of Nottingham, let me know in the chat. Is it a board game? Is it a card game? Not something I'm aware of. So Jamie's saying that he's got Bloodtooth Oryx with his partners Night Goblins and Bone Crusher Giant. So a nice destruction army. Don't see too much destruction these days. So we've got to hear how you get on, mate. So the subject for tonight's video, and what I like to do is to have just a bit of a subject to kind of kick off the chat, get us all talking. And what I've started to do is every Tuesday I'll post something in the Facebook group, and it gives you all a chance to give me a topic suggestion. Let me know what you want to talk about. And this week's topic was suggested by Jamie White, and it's why do we play games? And I thought that was a really interesting topic because I had a video last week which was about do we need sportsmanship in gaming? And I think the video was hit with one of those, there's been a few YouTube glitches recently where it hasn't been giving everybody notifications that a new video is up. So it didn't seem to get many views really in comparison to any other video I do. But basically I was touching on a subject of why is it when it comes to miniature gaming that we seem to be very, very sort of insistent about sportsmanship, be that in a rules pack for a tournament? Why do we really kind of pat people on the back for being a good sport? And through that kind of discussion, I got to the kind of conclusion that we have a very niche hobby, and that we don't all play for the same reasons. And that's why sportsmanship is important. Some people are ultra competitive and they want to win a tournament. Other people are just there to get more games in because they don't play too many, either at home or at their local store. So that led on to the question from Jamie, which was, why do we play games? If we don't all play for the same reasons, what reasons do we play games? And I've been giving it some thought really, and a lot of the reasons that we play games, and bearing in mind that as a community we're not, how can I put this, we have a stereotype that says that we're sort of, as a rule, a little bit socially awkward at times. And I mean that in the nicest way. I'm not kind of saying that everybody's kind of unapproachable, but we tend to be, as a community and as a niche, we tend to not be the most kind of outgoing of people. So why do we put ourselves into a situation or into a hobby that is really about being part of a community and is about being social? So that's quite interesting that we do gravitate towards board games, and we gravitate towards miniature gaming and tournaments and going to game stores when, if the stereotypes to be believed, we're not that sociable. So I think maybe deep down we play games for that interaction. I mean, there's plenty of opportunities to play online gaming or play sort of single player computer games. So it's not just for the actual sort of the something to do or just something to kill time. There's got to be more to it than that. So what about you guys in the chat? Would you say you play games to win? Is that your motivation for playing? Do you play games just for something to do? Let me have a little note down in the chat, and we can kind of see what ideas you guys are coming up with. So we've also got Tim Kelly is saying he's been making Star Wars Legion terrain, picked up some Knights of Dice buildings. Yeah, I've seen them actually. They look really nice. He's also picked up some GW dwarves with a smiley face there. Yeah. Mark is saying it's a board game as such where you bribe, lie, and cheat. Great family fun. And Steve's saying yeah, it's kind of a card game based upon lying. What goods you've got in your bag. I can't play with my wife as she reads me like a book. Yeah, there's quite a bit of that really, isn't there? Where I think yeah, my wife always says she can tell when I'm lying because my lips move. Mark saying, "I play with the wife, my mum, and the role playing from these non-gamers was so much fun." Everybody just kind of sitting there saying, "No, no, I haven't got it. That's not what I'm having." So Jamie is saying he's taking his Oryx to a tournament. It's not for winning. So Jamie, you specifically then, what you suggested this question. Why do you play games? Because I would say you're similar to me in respect that you don't play just one game, and I think you probably play even more than I do. And I think I play too many games, or I certainly have a finger in a lot of different gaming pies, if you like. So what specifically? Why do you play? How long have you been playing? What makes you play? Because for me, I started back into miniature gaming. I played a little bit when I was younger. I played a little bit of Blood Bowl many years ago. I had a best friend when I was about kind of 10, and he had an older brother, and his older brother was into Citadel miniatures. And we used to go to the local toy shop in the city where we lived, which, if I remember right, was called Joseph's Toy Shop, and they had quite a lot of Citadel miniatures. The single sort of little metal miniatures in the little blister packs with the cardboard backs on them. And we used to buy one. We obviously didn't have a lot of pocket money back then. Maybe used to buy one miniature, and then maybe buy one or two pots of paint or something like that. And I'd try and paint them up, and they were absolutely awful. I think I was using like Humbrol paints or something like that. So really kind of heavy paint's not really designed for these miniatures. But we used to we didn't paint them to kind of play the game. It was more just to kind of there was the attraction of what the older kids were playing, that kind of thing. So I did play a little bit. Then I picked up Hero Quest when I was probably, I'm trying to think how old it was, probably about 10, something like that, 10 or 11. Played that for a little bit, and then kind of drifted away. And then fast forward sort of 20 years, probably into my, I would say maybe late 20s, early 30s. My twins had been born. I was at home a lot, not really going out because of the twins. And I decided to pick up some Games Workshop miniatures to paint. No intention of playing it, just wanted to pick them up. So I picked up some Space Marines. I was painting a Raven Guard army. And I was just doing it purely for the hobby of it and just sitting at home just as something to do on an evening. And I got to a point where I had quite a big painted army. And I thought I really probably should just actually learn how to play this game. So I decided to find a local gaming club, and I went, and somebody tried to teach me how to play 40k, which was back in 5th edition, I think it was. And I really didn't enjoy it, actually, if I'm honest. I almost felt like I'd wasted my time painting all these miniatures. I don't know whether it was the person that was teaching me that just didn't make it very enjoyable, whether I just didn't, my head wasn't in the right place for kind of learning miniature games at that point. But what I did enjoy was I enjoyed the atmosphere of going to a games club. And so what I did was I picked up Malifaux instead. It was a small model count game. I liked the theme of it, and that's kind of where I got off and going. And I also got into tournament gaming later on, purely because of the kind of the social side of things, of going away for the weekend with a group of guys who were into the same thing. So I think I played games purely as it was just it was for the social interaction. It was just for the fun of it. It was it was a way of meeting other people with similar interests. When you get to kind of into your 30s and 40s, it's not easy to kind of find friends, if you like. That sounds quite sad, but it's not like being in the playground and just saying, "Will you be my friend?" So you have to look for common interests, and us men in general don't tend to kind of look for new social circles as you get older. And gaming for me was something that did that. Right, so let's have a look and see what's in the chat. We've got Mark is saying, I've just lost that there. He's a purely casual player, in it for the fun only. Wee Green Stunties is saying he plays for the banter and ripping my mates bad dice rolling. Though he soon get the last laugh with my bad rolling. Yeah, I've never had. I can certainly remember more games I've had bad dice rolling, that's for sure. Arturo, Agent Gamer, nice to see you in, my friend. Saying I love the miniatures and models. Games give me something to do with them. Yeah, that was where I started, but then I found actually I enjoyed the playing and the social side of it more than sitting at home alone painting. Now I think I only really paint to be able to play. Mark's story, seeing your story almost mirrors mine. although it was X-Wing that I bought for my son, and then get buying models in it for me. Yeah, after having a bit of a break from it, I did pick up X-Wing to play with my sons, because it was Star Wars, so the kids loved it, I loved it, and there was no painting or anything, so it was good fun to play that together. Rob saying, play games for creating stories. Always loved making scenarios when I was younger. Something will always happen that makes the game memorable. Yeah, I would go along with that as well. It's certainly, maybe we're all just kind of frustrated 10-year-old boys, and in our heads we're still, maybe not in our heads, maybe out loud, we're all still making them explosions as the guns go off and kind of playing with them green army men. So maybe that's the reason we play games. Maybe it's just that kind of regression back to childhood. Maybe we never really grow up. Steve saying, loves all sides of tabletop, from board games to full tabletop gaming, but enjoy the building and painting as much as playing. Yeah, there's definitely, we lump kind of tabletop gaming or miniature gaming in as one big thing, but there's so many there's so many facets of it, from the kind of the building and the painting and the collecting, and even just the buying. Really, sometimes it's just nice to buy something new and read a rule book and maybe spend an evening building some models. You might never play the thing, but it's quite nice just to do that. Rob is saying, also with miniature gaming, it's a rewarding hobby. Once you finish painting that last model, there's definitely a real sense of achievement, isn't there? To just getting a model finished, or getting a unit finished, or especially finishing a whole army. There's just something about, even if you just got that small little group of 5 models together, there's just something about kind of putting them down and just saying, right, they're done, I'm really happy with them. It's a real sense of accomplishment. Jamie's saying, same story, love to see, I don't like winning, but there's enough people that know me that would say that's not true. I've definitely got a want to win streak in me, and I think sometimes that can, it kind of flies in the face of how I play. So I like to play lots of different games, but because I play lots of different games, I don't tend to focus on one long enough to become very good at it. So I tend not to win that much, but I do have that kind of that want to win streak in me, I suppose. Which is maybe why I kind of enjoy going to tournaments as well. I kind of set myself a little target. I want to go kind of 3 wins out of 5 today, or whatever it is, and that's maybe just my own little kind of challenges. He's saying he's got a great group of friends, and now that he spends lots of time with. Yeah, and I think that's it. What was certainly fine now in this um, kind of within miniature gaming hobby is, it doesn't matter what your background is, it doesn't matter how much money you've got, it doesn't matter what your job is, it doesn't matter sort of where you live. We all just love the same things, and that is just something that brings us together as a community. Tim saying he played Warhammer Fantasy when he was about 12, then first edition 40k, then RPGs, and then discovered the pub, work, and women. Yes, that was definitely me in my teens and my very early 20s. Jamie saying, also love the shinies, so playing with them gives me a reason to buy more. Yeah, there was like a meme thing went round today, which was saying about they discovered the scroll with the truth of life on it, and when you unscrolled it, it said, you don't need to buy more miniatures. You've already got plenty, and it was like, yeah, that's not the truth. Tim saying, got back in the game about 2 years back through the gateway drug that is X-Wing. Surprised how many people did, and I think a lot of people dismiss that kind of pre-painted miniatures, but it's got a real draw to it. Nick saying, I play because I can connect with other people, and there's also a nostalgia from my younger days with my friends back home. Where are you from, Nick? You might have told me, but I don't think I can. I don't think I can remember my old age now. That come catching up with me. But it's funny because my friends weren't into miniature gaming, and so it's strange that became a hobby for me. I think it was more to do with the fact that having the twins at home, um, not going out quite so much, we kind of drifted apart. We were a group of friends that were sort of an age where we all seemed to kind of grow up, get married, have children, and we didn't do the things that we used to do. We used to go away for weekends together. Used to go to football, just go down the pub on a Friday night. Those kind of things just seemed to drift away a little bit, and I moved house as well, so I moved to a different area, and then you kind of end up in a situation where you suddenly realise actually you're in your 30s, and you you don't have a big social circle anymore. So miniature gaming was something for me that I think just it gave me access to. I like to spend a lot of time online reading stuff and looking at stuff and watching videos. And I think miniature gaming gave me that. I did play a lot of online gaming as well, but I think it was it can become very samey just playing online gaming. I think miniature gaming gave me a different hobby, different perspective really. So Nick is saying he's from Wisconsin in the States and now lives in California. Well, I'm sure that your weather will be a little bit better than ours is over here in the UK at the moment. We've got a bit more snow again. So, we're almost into April and we've still got snow. Unheard of. Don't know why we've got this horrible weather. I drove back from Nottingham on Saturday night after I'd been to Mantic. And I left about must have been 6:15, 6:30. And the drive back was horrendous. It was just starting to get really bad snow. There was hardly any cars on the road, so the road wasn't getting cleared. On the way up, there was roads closed. There was cars crashed all over the place. It was awful. It was an awful drive back. So yeah, I'm very jealous of your California sunshine at the minute, Nick. So another reason we kind of play games is I've read something online today that said we live in a world where a lot of things are outside of our control. Politics and religion and all the things that you should never talk about in polite conversation. All these things are just like they're too big for us and they're outside of the control. There's nothing we can do about them. So one of the reasons we play games is because we like to make decisions, we like to solve puzzles, and we can kind of condense that into a 90-minute or a 2-hour experience, and it's a relief, it's a break from all of that outside influence to something that we can influence and something that we can affect. And it all becomes very deep when you start to read it, but it's quite interesting to see if is that the reason we play games? Is it about the social aspect, or secretly are we just trying to kind of regain some control over our lives? Mark saying he did online gaming for a while but got bored of it. Can get costly too. Yeah, I was all right. I was pretty good. I was part of these gaming clans and stuff like that. And then I just realised I got old and not very good. When you've got sort of 14-year-old Chinese kids up in the middle of the night when I'm finished work and I'm playing night times and on the different time zones and stuff, I realised that I just don't stand a chance. Then I got to a point where my kids were getting a little bit older. They were the kind of 12, 13, 14, and they absolutely just kicked my backside every time we played. And I realised I just didn't play it. I didn't play it often enough to be good, and I wasn't good enough anymore to keep up. So that's where my kind of competitive side come in. I almost gave up just because I was sick of getting my arse kicked basically. Lee saying agree with that. Drifted away from my friends. They stopped going out drinking. Since starting Warlords, really appreciate the friendships and being brought together in a common interest. Yeah, that's definitely it for me. It's not, you've got all the usual things. You've got like your groups of lads who are into football, or you've got like your lads who go down the pub, and or lads who play a five-a-side. I used to play a lot of five-a-side as well when I was a bit younger. But they're very kind of they're almost just moments in time. Like if you play five-a-side every Wednesday, you don't spend all week researching five-a-side. You don't spend all week cleaning your boots, kind of thing, or anything like that. Doing this kind of hobby it basically gives you something to do. You could do something in this hobby 24 hours a day if you had the time on your hands. If you've got a free weekend, if you've got a night away, if you're away with work, like I'm away with work, it gives me a perfect chance to catch up on all the bits of YouTube videos, or do a bit of painting, or do some research for my videos. So without those kind of hobbies, I think I'd just have a load of time on my hands. Tim's asking what did Mark play. Mark saying the main game was Hearthstone, the costly one. I always thought that Hearthstone was free. Now maybe that's because I wasn't competitive enough at that game and I never got into buying stuff. But do you buy packs a little bit like Magic kind of thing? Yeah, Tim's saying it's a money sponge. Nick saying Counter Strike and Blizzard games. Yeah, my boys play quite a bit of Counter Strike, or certainly used to. Blizzard games. So am I right in thinking is World of Warcraft a Blizzard game? I think it is, isn't it? Anybody get to have their kind of life sucked out of them playing World of Warcraft? Do you play Overwatch? Anything like that? I played quite a bit of League of Legends. I got into that one purely because it was a free to get into a game kind of thing. It was something I played online with my lads, and that I really enjoyed that. Actually, again, wasn't particularly good at it, but it was a game that I actually quite did enjoy. And then I don't know if I mentioned it last week. I might have done on the stream. I can't remember if I did. I've just recently picked up Vermintide 2 for PC, which is a little bit like Left 4 Dead, if anybody's played those kind of games. But it's set in the old Warhammer Fantasy universe. So I never played Warhammer Fantasy. This is the first time I've kind of got involved in that universe. But I really like that kind of Skaven chaos. The kind of they're the enemies, and you're trying to kind of to take them down. It's really interesting. So where have we got here? Nixie and Quake 2, Half-Life back in the day. Marksy and Counter-Strike played for a bit, but was either shooting the floor or the sky. Yeah, I'm just not quick enough for that kind of stuff. I see somebody like sort of 10 seconds after they shot me, far too late. Jamie saying he met his wife playing Counter-Strike. Wow, now there's a story, Jamie. Steve saying he used to play Quake 1 and 3 in contests online. Got in a table talk, took a break till the kids started school. Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? It's certainly, I mean, having a family is very rewarding, but it definitely takes up your free time as well. Mark saying Hearthstone free to play, but to get the cards you need to buy them and the expansions and the adventures. Yeah, so that's where you get sucked into it. I started playing Hearthstone a little bit when my youngest son was first born. So when you're up in the middle of the night for sort of funny feeds and stuff, I found that I could play Hearthstone with one hand while he was sitting and feeding him the bottle with the other hand. There wasn't many games I could just play with the mouse. So yeah, I played a little bit of Hearthstone then. Jimmy was saying he was an admin on the server, kept banning her till she agreed to go out with you. So that, I think these days, isn't that called like stalking or something, or harassment? It's funny, isn't it, how times change. Lee saying the one thing I love about the hobby is something to pass the time every night. Totally agree. It's the only hobby that lasted longer than 6 or 8 months and keeps you engaged. Yeah, I'm the same. I've tried other bits of things. I got into airsoft for a bit with my sons, and I really kind of got into that and trying to find out more and how I could become better at playing airsoft. And to be honest, I started YouTube with the intention of doing airsoft videos. Got my GoPro on my helmet cam and did some video footage, and realised that I probably didn't play it often enough to get enough footage, and I definitely wasn't good enough to have anything that people would want to watch. So the YouTube channel just kind of sat there empty with no videos for about 2 or 3 years, and then I decided to try with just miniature gaming and stuff, which is where it kind of went from here. And I think that's, as Lee said, I think that's the fact is one of the reasons I'm still doing the YouTube channel after kind of 16 months, I think it is now, is purely down to the fact is there's always something to talk about. I'll have periods of time where I'm not really sure what I want to make a video about, and I'm not the fastest of painters and all that kind of stuff. But there's always something to talk about. There's always a video, even just these live chats. There's always something that crops up that we can have a chat about. Mark's laughing at Jamie White there. Steve saying played World of Warcraft for years, beta tested it, but when we had kids, me and my wife could not warrant the subscription based on time played. Yeah, it always surprised me actually that the subscription to World of Warcraft was quite so high, and just how many people played it. And am I right in thinking it was like £7 or £8 a month, which actually isn't. If you're not going out, it's what is it these days? A couple of pints. So if you're not going out, I can kind of see you'll get your money's worth from it. But it just sounded quite a lot, really. Bearing in mind, you still had to buy the game as well, I believe. It wasn't like it was a free game. Tim is saying, same year played beta World of Warcraft, but City of Heroes was my thing. Am I right in thinking City of Heroes was like a Marvel DC rip-off type thing? I say that kind of hesitantly, but basically you created your own superheroes. Is that right? So, miniature gaming, that's why we're here as well, isn't it? Not just online gaming. So, yeah, so why do we play games? We've talked quite a bit there, about the social side of it. We've talked about the just purely for the hobby side of it. And I think really that kind of, for me, answers why I do it. It's purely it can completely take over your life. If you ask my wife, she would definitely agree. There's so much to talk about. There's so much to read. You know, it kind of transcends the hobby. So there's people will spend time painting, then those people will spend time listening to audiobooks, and the audiobooks are like kind of based on the hobby. So whether it's Warhammer background, 40k background, whether it's podcasts that other fans of the hobby are making, whether it's YouTube videos, stuff like this. It's such a wide ranging hobby that it's just really interesting to see how everyone gets involved in it. So we're about 35 minutes in now. Chat seems to be going quite nicely. What I'll do is just briefly, I just want to kind of see what you guys and girls, if there's any in, what's your thoughts on new Warhammer 40,000 kill team? Because there seems to be quite a bit of confusion at the moment, about exactly where it fits. Is it skirmish 40k? Is it a new version of Shadow War Armageddon? Is it right that it comes in and you've got Necromunda as a bit of a skirmish game, and then you've got this Kill Team as a skirmish game? Because Kill Team's been around before. I'm aware of that, but I never did play it. And I'm just kind of curious as to see where you think it fits, because for me it seems like a bit of a missed opportunity for Games Workshop to have that gateway into 40k if they're going to put a completely different rule set on it, which is, from what I understand, which is exactly what's happening. So a little bit on the chat here, we've got Mark saying, it takes me away out of normal life, helps relax and de-stress. Couldn't agree more. That was exactly why I started. Having twins running about and working full time, I needed something to take my mind off that stuff. Phil saying, interesting. Painting gives a nice challenge, lots to think about. Yeah, I find when I'm painting, I have to really concentrate on it. Because if I'm not concentrating on the painting, if I'm not giving it my entire focus, I can never do what I want to do, really. So it does kind of just, it zones out all of those other thoughts, I've got to do this at work tomorrow, I've got to do these chores or these jobs at home kind of thing. So it definitely does zone you out. Tim's saying it's a great escape. Think we all need one. Some watch soaps, footy, but this is our thing. Yeah, it's funny that, because it is a pastime to just sit and watch TV, but it ends up just, it's nice to watch TV, but if that's all you do end up at the end of the day kind of just thinking, what have I done? I've got home from work, I've had my tea, and I've sat and watched the TV, and I've done nothing. You haven't wasted your time, because that's what you wanted to do, but you do feel like you basically just you've lost an evening, really. Tim is also saying paint mini is a great way to immerse yourself, put some good music on, and focus on the paint. Yeah, I agree with that. So Nick is asking, will Kill Team require army codexes? Now, my understanding is that it won't, that you will have, what were they called again? I forget what they're called now. Like a battle, was it like a battle scroll or something it was called? I'm thinking of war scrolls. It was called something, basically like might have been a data sheet. So each individual model will have a data sheet, which I'm assuming they're not going to sell. He says, maybe they're going to release them in sort of in books, a little bit like they've done with Necromunda, with the gang war books. Maybe they're intending to keep it going that way, because they're saying it's going to be fully supported. So I can't imagine they're just going to kind of say, here's a book with all the rules in, go buy your miniatures, just do it like that kind of thing. Jimmy's saying, given it's got organised play, I think they'll have self-contained narrative rule set for storytelling. My sort of thoughts about organised play, it was that it's set for like tournaments, which would go against kind of narrative rule sets for storytelling. That's the bit that kind of confuses me. Now maybe I'm seeing it from the wrong end of the stick. I definitely, it seems like, I think it mentions about matched play and narrative play. So I can see the narrative play is where you can level up your individual models from the kill team. Where you have your specialists and you can level them up to level 4 and give them extra like attributes or abilities. So I get that, but then it says for matched player that you can't level up about level 1. So that looks like it's more about purely just kind of keeping everything on a level field. So I'm not really sure about how that fits. Jamie saying think 40k Frostgrave. I've never played Frostgrave, but I do know it's very thematic and it's very story based. I'm not sure how the matched play side of it or the organised play side of it. Steve's saying he's still building the old Kill Team box got for his son. Tempted to just let him build and paint it with a little help. To be honest, it's not a bad shout. I'm sure he'll still be able to use the models, and the rules will change a little bit, but there's no harm in letting him knock them out, is it? Lee saying he doesn't have a short answer for why he plays. Had my doubts in the younger days, but currently love it. Yeah, it was one of them things when you're younger, you just think it's a bit geeky, don't you? You know, everybody walks past the Games Workshop and kind of points at all the nerds, but yeah, I'm one of them now, so so be it. I guess I'm just too old to really care now. Lee's also saying he's excited for Kill Team. Let myself get into the chat and put my paints down. That's it. Have you been distracted now? You can't be blaming me for not painting your Stormcast now. Jamie saying it says on the video ideal for role players and tabletop. It does say that, but when I got into details in the rule book, with which was on the screen, I kind of like I copied the video and kind of almost went through it frame by frame to see what I could read. And there's definitely kind of conflicting parts to it. So it's definitely making out as if the story and the kind of the role playing side of it is one part, but there's this competitive kind of almost quite fixed rule set that doesn't look like it's sort of 8th edition lifted, because there's a lot of stuff in there that isn't 8th edition specific. Rob saying kind of reminds me of old Mordheim. Looking forward to more news. Yeah, I think, well, it's Adepticon, I think, this weekend, isn't it, over in Chicago? So it wouldn't surprise me. GW have their announcements that they do, you know, when they do their seminars, and it wouldn't surprise me if there's another big reveal and a bit more information at Adepticon this weekend. Mordheim was kind of, if I remember right, was the Necromunda of the fantasy side, wasn't it? And it's not something I've ever seen played. It's something I've heard a lot about. But I feel like Kill Team was an opportunity to have an ease into 40k rather than making its own standalone rules. If you think of what AOS skirmish is, it's essentially exactly the same rules, but it's just scaled down, so you're not taking big units. But it doesn't seem like that's what they're doing with their Kill Team. So I just found it interesting. I honestly thought it was just going to be a sort of like a step in, really. You know, like you know, here, get yourself 10 models. You know, build yourself like a little unit or something like that. We'll upgrade some of them and say this one's got extra power and this one's your leader or whatever. But it's an entry into 40k, and I'm assuming it still will be. But it's just strange that the rules are not going to translate directly. So Lisa is starting to think that the match play was to help with pickup games, getting two forces picked out fast on a level playing field. Yeah, I can definitely see that. But then I guess with Necromunda they avoided that, didn't they? And certainly with Shadow War they did, which was really just old Necromunda 2nd edition. I think it was 2nd edition 40k rules. So yeah, I mean, personally, I think I'll be picking up the rules for this. I want to try 40k. You know, I'm hearing so many good things about 8th edition, and everybody I speak to seems to enjoy it. But I just feel it's a way off if I want to try and get some models built up for it and painted. Nick is saying I'd try 40k if Kill Team is like Skirmish. Yeah, and that's kind of where I was when it first got announced. I assumed that it was going to be just a Skirmish version of 40k, but the more I kind of think about it, it says it's a Skirmish game set in the 40k universe. And from what I hear, I think it was somebody, it might have been Lee actually, was saying that he'd spoken to the guys in one of the GW shops, and they were saying that it's basically going to have its own separate set of rules. It's not 8th edition. Memnon6, nice to see you there. I don't think we've chatted before, so welcome to the chat, welcome to the channel. Saying 40k is already easy enough to learn at any size kill team. At any size, sorry, kill team will explore firefights in more detail like Necromunda. It's designed to retell those really cool bits from the novels. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that actually. I think it probably will be. It will be good to be quite thematic and to be more about story based, because one thing I don't think 40k is very story based in the games. I think it feels a lot more competitive and a lot more hardcore than something like AOS. Now I might be judging this, as I say, I don't play it, so maybe I'm judging this wrongly, and maybe the vast majority of people who just play on their dining tables or at their local kind of stores with friends do play it quite thematically, but I always get the impression it's always very competitive. So maybe this will be that kind of sort of narrative bridge. But does 40k work at small forces? If I was to have a sort of 500 points army, does 40k still work at those sizes? Do I need, how do I phrase this? Am I better off not wasting my time with kill team and just trying to get into 40k with a small army and trying to sort of do it that way? Is that a better option? I just think there's 40k like AOS are far too big a games for me to ignore. They've been going for so long, certainly 40k. There's so many people involved in them that I honestly feel that I must be missing something to not be involved in it. So I really would like to kind of even if it just is, even if it is on 500 point armies, am I going to still get the 40k experience if I don't go for sort of full 2,000 points? So I'm just trying to read their name there. Well hung in dung. I hope I pronounced that right. I don't think we've chatted before either, so again, welcome to the chat. Thanks for coming in tonight. So they bought the original kill team, the Shadow War Armageddon, and will buy Necromunda because they enjoy the skirmish element, but disillusioned by Shadow War lack of support so quickly. There's a lot of people saying that, and I remember hearing an interview with James Hewitt, actually randomly, who I've just been talking about, when he said that when he was working at Games Workshop, he was asked to work on Necromunda, and they'd already started work on Necromunda when it came out that the main part of the main studio were releasing Shadow War Armageddon, which was essentially Necromunda rules, but porting in the 40k armies. So it seemed really strange back then that there was almost two games that were competing side by side even then. But Shadow War for me feels like it was a way to launch that Sector Mechanicus terrain. So in order to make it sell, they boxed it up in those big boxes for Shadow War, threw in some sprues of scouts and orcs that probably weren't selling very well, and they were really selling you a big box of terrain, and it was a way to get those initial sales out, so that it paid for the tooling and paid for it further down the line. So it did feel like that's what it was. It felt to me like it was a cash grab for terrain personally. But yeah, they basically they released the rule book for it and then never to be spoken of again. So there's a lot of people who are a little bit anxious that the kill team might go the same way, but I think we're in the era of a slightly different Games Workshop now, I would say. Excuse me. Steve's saying he's not played 40k but pre-ordered Forgebane. I think it would be great to play with the kids. Is Forgebane just a kind of like a starter box for 40k? Or is there anything specifically sort of special about it? Has it got any different rules, different scenarios or something? Or is it basically just a new sort of two-player box set? Memnon6 saying any size works fine. Find it more challenging if you have fewer points. Can't take all the eggs in one giant gothic basket. Yeah, there is that. And that's probably an element of what would attract me really. Like I say, I play mainly these days now just for fun and just for the story and for the crack really of playing with another bunch of guys. So maybe I will do. Maybe I'll get to 500 points. I started a Blood Angels army not too long ago. So maybe I can get to 500 points of Blood Angels. started a Necron army not too long ago as well with one of the start collecting boxes. So I've probably got, there's probably 500 points potentially. I'm not sure, I have to double check actually. But there's probably, you know, there's got to be 300 or 400 points in there, I would imagine. So I've got a couple of armies I could probably try and have a small scale game with. And I did buy the Dark Imperium box as well. So in theory, I could paint up the Death Guard that's in there. How much stuff have I got that's undone? That's terrible. That's not fun at all, is it really? So Steve is saying Forge Banes are 2 starter armies with rules for the armies, not the full rule book. Well, that's interesting that it's not the full rules, and because I think the 40k rules are not like AOS rules, are they? Where there's like kind of like there's a main 8 pages or something like that, and then everything else is bolted on. Because I remember the Dark Imperium box came with the big thick rule book. Maybe it's something I'll take a look at and try and see what's in there. What's the other army again that's up against the Necrons in that Forgebane set? I forget what it is now. Is it Admech? Am I right in thinking that? So how we're doing for time, let me just double check and see how we're getting on. So it's about 10 to 10. We'll keep going till 10 o'clock. We'll have an hour's stream tonight. I've got to be up particularly early tomorrow for work because I've got to drive to Manchester. So not be having too much of a late night tonight. So yeah, we'll keep going for another 10 minutes. If there's anything you guys want to bring up, anything you want to have a chat about, any Kickstarters that you've seen recently, any new games. Tim is saying, is Necromunda any good? Minis and board setups look cracking. The miniatures are excellent. They're quite fiddly to put together. There's quite a few of them where they're kind of the Mohicans on the head, and the front and the backs of the heads are like kind of 3 separate parts. They're quite fiddly, but they're fantastic sculpts. The boards look great. The game itself, actually, I've not even played yet. I kind of decided I wanted to paint all of the models first and then got sidetracked with other things. But there's a few guys from my club have been playing Necromunda. They've been playing it with the Gang War rules, which is with the full 3D terrain, and they seem to be really enjoying it. They did say that there seems to be, at the minute, until they get their heads around it, there's a lot of rules checking, which always seems to put me off when I don't play games very often. I like the rules to be a little bit more streamlined. But people seem to be speaking quite well of it. I think there's just the fact that they've got 2 Gang War books out already. There seems to be rules dotted about all over the place, which is a little bit of a worry. Steve saying, yeah, Admech Necrons. I thought that's what it was. Necromunda's great, enjoying building the table and doing a vlog on it. Yeah, I saw your terrain actually, Steve. The stuff you were doing with the cans looked absolutely excellent. Am I right in thinking that it was some 3D printed bits for them as well? Mark's saying, have you seen Pacific Rim minis I posted in the group? Shows them unpainted, but you see the size. And Memnon6 is saying, I'm sorely tempted by Pacific Rim Kickstarter. Pre-painted 72mm figures is pretty unique. We'll wait to see the film on Thursday though. I was actually, so as I mentioned, I was at Mantic at the weekend for Hellboy playtesting. And the guy sitting next to me was actually the guy that is writing the rules for Pacific Rim. So I had a good chat with him actually at the weekend, and I emailed him this morning about potentially going down to River Horse to have a chat with the guys down there about some of their games, especially Pacific Rim, obviously with it being the game that they're working on at the moment. So if that's something that you guys would be interested in, maybe an interview with the guys at Pacific Rim, with the guys at River Horse rather, let me know. That would be interesting to go down and have a chat with them. Well Hung and Dung said, I think I saw your vid a few weeks ago about good starter rules for wargaming. Meant to comment that many of the new Osprey Games books make great simple intros into wargaming. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's seen it recently, but Ash Barker, who's the guy that does Guerrilla Miniature Games, he's wrote a zombie game rule set that Osprey are publishing, and I must admit the name of the game has escaped me now, but I think that's pretty close to being released now, and that looks quite interesting. Lee saying, personally think it's a similar thing. Kill Team is competition for Necromunda. I only say this, it was on the fence for Necromunda, but if Kill Team is similar, I'll stick to that. Yeah, the beauty of it is if you're interested in 40k or you play 40k, you can kind of drop your minis in and out of those couple of games, where Necromunda is very much kind of self-contained. Steve was saying it was 3D printed, foam core and beer cans. They look fantastic, Steve. It's amazing what you can do now with 3D printing. It's something I've been quite interested in recently, and I saw a 3D printer. I'll have to try and get a link to the video and post it in the Facebook group. But the quality of the 3D printing looked fantastic, and I think the printer was only about 400 quid. I was quite surprised at that. Mark saying Memnon 6 video should be out tomorrow, he thinks. That'll be good. And very interested about speaking to River Horse. Yeah, the guy I spoke to is a guy called Chris Caesar, and he's a freelance games writer, rules writer, and he was freelance, I should say, and I think he's just started working full time for River Horse. And one of the first things he's working on is the Pacific Rim rules. So yeah, he seemed like a really nice guy. Had a good chat with him, and we've had a few emails backwards and forwards today about potentially setting something up. So what I'm trying to do this year really is to try and kind of take the channel on to like another level a little bit, get some more interesting things. So started with this weekend with the Hellboy playtesting and getting involved with James Hewitt. So he'd been really kind, and I asked him for an interview basically, and he invited me down for the playtesting so we could speak. So that's great. So I've got those couple of videos coming up soon. At the minute, I've kind of been in contact with Modifius, who are based down in London, about going down to have a chat with them to go and see them about the Fallout game, which is due out in May, I think it is. So they've invited me down in the next few weeks. I just need to kind of have a think about that, because I'm going to have to pay for train tickets down to London. I just need to really make sure that it is worth it, because it's not going to be cheap to get to London and back from Newcastle. But yeah, they've invited me down there to do an interview and have a play test of the Fallout game. What else have I got going on? I've also been speaking to River Horse now as well, and there's another company as well called, I don't remember what their name is, but they're bringing out a game called Armored Miniature something. I forget the name now, but it's an Australian designer who's contacted me, and Wordforge Games are the guys that are producing it. So I thought that was quite interesting as well, actually. That it's nice. I seem to be getting to a place now with the channel where people are sort of speaking to me now about games rather than me chasing them as well. So that's really interesting. So how do you feel about that, folks? About sort of a bit more background, about chatting to the games designers, getting a bit more information about new games before they're out. Is that something that you guys are interested in seeing on the channel, or are you just wanting to see more gameplay, painting videos, that kind of things? Robbie is saying Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Yeah, I'm just trying to, without stopping the stream here, I'm trying to dig out what the name of the guy was, to be honest. Because his game sounded quite interesting, but it wasn't a game I'd heard of before. But it's coming to Kickstarter, I think, later on this month. So, right, I've got the name here. The name of the company is called Armored Digital. Anybody heard of these guys? And basically he's saying he's got a Kickstarter, is launching on the 27th, and he wanted me to kind of do an interview where they could find out a little bit more about it. I'm trying to see what else he's saying about the game. What I'll do is I'll see if I can find it here, and I'll bring it up. See if I can bring it up for you guys to see. So here we are. So I'm seeing this for the first time as well here. So we'll be reading this together. So this is a game called Armored Digital. Basically, climb aboard your command vehicle, power up your Neuralink, and send your combat drones into battle. Armored Digital is a tabletop miniatures game where 2 or more players take the role of elite digipaths, humans with the ability to reprogram computers by instinct. Tanks, walkers, hovercraft, and aircraft trade shots through the wilderness left by the fall of humanity as digipaths fight for control over resources. So it looks like it's kind of armored tanks. Some stuff about factions. There's not a lot of pictures on it at the moment. Looks like there's kind of some kind of stats. So there's not a huge amount of information about it yet. I know they've definitely got a Facebook page. Let me just transition back and I'll have a quick look, see if I can see the Facebook page. And because that was the kind of he sent me across to that to have a look at the game. So yeah, it's not a kind of game that I've played before. I think I might have found that one there as well. So let's transition across. So it looks like it's kind of some kind of tank combat. Seeing here comes with, looks like lots of different vehicles, battle tanks. Yeah, don't know a lot about it, but yeah. So the gamer's designer for that game has been in touch as well. So it'll be really interesting to kind of see what comes of that as well. So we've got what have we got? Nick saying sounds awesome. Tim saying sounds good. Lee, he'd be interested. Mark, something I'm personally interested in, works for me. Robbie shouting oi oi oi. Steve saying background to games from the design perspective could be interesting. And well, I hope I'm saying this right. Well hung and done. Victoria mentions our Aussies too, right? There's some great alternative minis for 40k in Necromunda. I'm not sure, man. Not heard of them actually. So yeah, it's stuff that kind of interests me really. There's other than probably Beasts of War, there's not a lot of other videos online where people are kind of talking to the designers about the game, getting some of the background information. It's everything seems to be kind of painting and playing. So I just thought I'd try and do something a little bit different and see how that works. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Just getting some things set up a little bit different for a change. So guys, we're 10 o'clock now. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to call that another live stream. I want to thank everybody for coming into the chat. It's you guys and girls coming into the chat, having loads of interesting things to talk about. That makes me want to keep doing these things. So thank you very much again. Don't forget to join the Facebook group if you haven't already. There'll be a link in the video description. And tomorrow and every Tuesday I'll post a link up where you can suggest your topic ideas for next week's live stream video. If there's anybody in here who hasn't subscribed, please do subscribe, or anybody that's watching the video back after the event, please subscribe. All of you, it all helps just to kind of get the word of my videos out, if you like, and helps. It also helps me when I'm talking to kind of games designers and games developers to say, you know what, there's an audience there to watch it. So again, thanks for watching. Thank you. Thanks everyone for being part of the community, and I'll see you all in the next video.